The lawyer's office smelled faintly of old paper and disinfectant. Heavy curtains blocked out most of the daylight, casting the room in shadows that clung to the corners. My siblings sat in a stiff row beside me, their clothes too polished, their expressions rehearsed. I kept my eyes on my hands, twisting them together in my lap, until I heard her voice. "Forget the inheritance. You're not part of this family." The words dropped like stones. My mother's tone wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. Cold, clipped, delivered as fact, not insult. She didn't look at me when she said it. Her gaze stayed on the polished oak table in front of the lawyer. My breath caught. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably, his pen paused above the page. My brother Ethan cleared his throat but didn't speak. My sister Clara pressed her lips together so tightly they almost disappeared. No one contradicted her. I managed a whisper. "What do you mean?" Mother finally turned, her eyes narrowing as if I were a child interrupting. "You heard me, Amaya. Don't embarrass yourself here." Heat crept up my neck. I wanted to demand answers, to shout, but the room pressed in on me, every silence conspiring to suffocate. I forced myself to sit straighter, to speak louder. "Father wanted me here. Your father is gone," she cut in, her hand flat on the table. The sharp clap echoed. "And this conversation is over." The lawyer coughed, fumbling with the papers. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his glasses. "Perhaps we should proceed with the reading." The rest blurred. Words about properties, shares, accounts floated past me like smoke I couldn't catch. Every time I tried to focus, my mother's sentence repeated in my head. "Not part of this family." I stared at the framed certificates on the wall, the dust motes floating in the stale air. My chest tightened. It wasn't about the money, I knew it. It was about something deeper. A line had been drawn, and I had been pushed to the wrong side. When the meeting ended, my siblings filed out quietly, avoiding my eyes. My mother stopped at the door, her heels clicking against the floor. She looked back at me, just once, her expression unreadable. "You should let this go," she said softly, almost like advice. "It will only hurt you." Then she was gone. I sat frozen in the empty office, the lawyer stacking papers into his briefcase. I tried to swallow, but the question lodged in my throat refused to move. If I wasn't part of the family, if I had been erased, then what truth had my mother been hiding all these years? The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee that had gone cold hours earlier. I hadn't slept. The words kept circling in my head. "Forget the inheritance. You're not part of this family." I needed something solid, proof that I hadn't imagined my place in this family. Proof that my mother's words were not the truth but a weapon. So I went back to my father's study. The room still smelled faintly of tobacco and the leather armchair where he used to sit. His desk was just as he left it, papers stacked neatly, his fountain pen placed carefully in its holder. My mother had insisted on sealing the room after his death, but I had the spare key. I opened the drawers one by one. At first, only receipts, tax forms, dull files. Then, tucked beneath a folder of old business reports, I found it, an envelope with my name written in my father's handwriting. My fingers trembled as I slid the letter out. "To my daughter Amaya. This family is yours as much as anyone else's. Whatever happens, remember that." That single line was enough to steady my breath. He had acknowledged me, clearly and without doubt. But when I searched the desk for more, I found only fragments, a half-torn photograph of us at the lake, with my face cut away, files that seemed incomplete, as if pages had been pulled. I sank into his chair, holding the letter to my chest. Someone, my mother, had been removing me, piece by piece, from the family record. The door creaked. I shoved the letter back into the envelope just as Clara appeared in the doorway. Her eyes darted to the desk. "What are you doing in here?" she asked, her voice too calm. "Looking for answers," I said flatly. She hesitated, stepping further into the room. "You shouldn't. Mother won't like it." I stared at her, searching for a flicker of loyalty. "Did you know?" Her silence told me more than words could. She pressed her lips together, then turned and left without another word. I sat there, gripping the envelope. It wasn't just inheritance. This was deliberate erasure. My mother wanted me invisible, forgotten, written out of the family's history. But why? That question festered as I tried to sleep that night. Money was one thing, but the way she said it, "You're not part of this family," it was more final than financial exclusion. It was identity, blood, roots. The next morning, I confronted the lawyer. I waited outside his office until he arrived, startled to see me so early. "Amaya, I thought yesterday was difficult for you," he said carefully, unlocking the door. I stepped inside with him. "Tell me the truth. Did my father really leave me nothing?" He avoided my eyes as he placed his briefcase down. The documents I read were the only ones provided. I leaned in, my voice low. "By my mother." He finally met my gaze. The look in his eyes was all the confirmation I needed. There were other documents once. They had been replaced. I walked out, my hands shaking, the envelope hidden in my bag. My father wanted me recognized, but my mother had erased me. And the bigger question now thundered in my chest. If she was willing to erase me from our father's will, what deeper secret was she hiding about who I really am? 2 days later, I found myself standing in front of Aunt Miriam's house. She was my father's older sister, quiet and always on the edges of family gatherings. As a child, I had trusted her more than my mother. If anyone would speak honestly, it was her. She opened the door with cautious eyes, then pulled me inside quickly as if she expected to be watched. "Amaya," she whispered, "I knew you would come." Her words chilled me. She didn't ask why I was there, she already knew. We sat in her cramped living room, the smell of old books and lavender surrounding us. She folded her hands tightly. "Your mother has worked for years to bury the truth. But she can't erase blood." I leaned forward. "Tell me what she's hiding." Miriam hesitated, her lips trembling. Then she said it. "You're not her daughter. Not by blood." The room tilted. My fingers dug into the armrest. "What do you mean? She raised me." "She did," Miriam nodded. "But you were not born to her. Your father, he loved you deeply. You were his child. But your mother never forgave him for how you came into this world." I pressed for more, my voice hoarse. "So whose child am I?" Miriam's eyes darted to the window, then back to me. "Your father had another relationship before he married her. You were the result. When he brought you into the marriage, she agreed to raise you, but she never truly accepted you. She made it her mission to keep you less than in every way." I sat frozen, my chest heavy. All the cold stares, the clipped words, the lack of affection. Suddenly it all made sense. "She wanted you erased from the will," Miriam continued softly, "because in her mind, you were never hers to begin with. She believes the family's legacy should stay with her blood." My throat burned. "Does anyone else know?" Miriam's silence was answer enough. That night, I returned home with the truth echoing in my ears. My mother wasn't trying to hurt me for money, she was trying to erase the very fact of who I was. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my father's letter. His handwriting told me I belonged, but Miriam's words told me why my mother would rather pretend I didn't exist. If the truth came out, the family's perfect image would crack. My siblings would have to face that their mother had lied to them, too. I stared at the letter and whispered to myself, what if I reveal everything? What would it do to them? The choice clawed at me. Should I stay silent and let her bury me, or should I expose the truth and risk burning the family down? The next family gathering came sooner than I expected. My mother insisted we all meet at the estate to settle final details. The dining room was spotless, every glass and plate lined like soldiers. She sat at the head of the table, her presence sharp as ever, daring me to sit quietly. But I hadn't come to stay quiet. When the lawyer began shuffling papers again, I placed my father's envelope on the table. The sound of it hitting the wood made Clara flinch. Ethan looked at me, confusion in his eyes. My mother's smile didn't falter, but her hands stiffened around her wine glass. "This is my father's letter," I said, my voice steady though my heart pounded. "He wrote it to me. He recognized me as his daughter and wanted me included. And there's more you all need to know." My mother leaned forward, her voice low. "Amaya, enough." I ignored her. For the first time in years, I ignored her. "Aunt Miriam told me the truth. I may not share your blood, Mother, but I am my father's child. And you tried to erase that." The silence that followed was unbearable. Ethan's face paled. Clara whispered, "Is it true?" My mother's lips pressed together. She didn't deny it. She only stared at me with cold fury, as if willing me into silence. I continued anyway. "You all deserve to know why she cut me out. It was never about money. It was about control. She could never accept me, because I was proof of a life before her." Clara pushed back her chair, eyes wet. "You lied to us our whole lives." My mother stood abruptly, her glass shattering as it tipped from her hand. "Enough," she shouted, her mask breaking for the first time. "You were never mine, Amaya. Never. And I will not let you destroy this family." I rose slowly. "I'm not destroying it. I'm freeing it from your lies." I left the letter on the table and walked toward the door. My siblings' whispers followed me, but I didn't turn back. For once, I didn't need them to believe me. Outside, the air felt clearer, sharper. I had spent years shrinking under her shadow, doubting my worth. Now, I had spoken the truth. She could erase my name from her papers, from her lips, but she couldn't erase who I was. As I walked down the long driveway, I thought of my father's words. "This family is yours as much as anyone else's." Maybe I didn't belong to them in the way I once hoped. But I belonged to myself. And that was enough. I looked back once at the house, its windows glowing in the night. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to step back inside. Because the question no longer was whether I was part of their family. The real question was, what kind of life would I build now that I was finally free?